Hello and welcome to Maximum Disc, a show where I celebrate physical media and talk about films that I own on Blu Ray and 4K Blu Ray. I'm James Adams and I'm a co-host on the Double Reel Film Podcast. If you like this chat about physical media, please do check out Double Reel. It's a magazine-style movie podcast about people who love the cinema as much as you do. We think that any episode you tune into will have some great recommendations of things to watch instead of just doing whatever the algorithm tells you to do. That's the sales pitch for the podcast. Now we're talking about physical media. Why does it matter? When the first ever episode on this that I did for the 4K of Civil War, I talked about this in a bit more detail. But the short version is, if you care about a film, you need to own it. You can't rely on what you really want to watch being available on the streaming services. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. It's very often not the director's cut or full version special edition that makes the film really work properly. And it's certainly not going to look at its best on a compressed internet file compared to on a really nice disc on your shelf ready to watch whenever you want it. Let's hope you're a convert to that already, and that's why you're watching. Each episode I talk about one film. I bought it with my own money. I'm not a paid reviewer or anything, and this is just me showing my enthusiasm for physical media. I talk about the quality of the audio and the visual. Is it a good transfer? How does it pop on your home cinema system? I also talk about my background with the film, why it matters to me, why I came to watch it, love it, own it. And when I sort of round it up at the end, I will talk about whether this is something that you should add to your physical media collection, which is just my opinion, but I hope I'll help you make your own mind up about it. Today we're talking about The Godfather on 4K Blu Ray. So, a film that needs no introduction really, 1972, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, one of the leading lights of the new Hollywood of the 1970s. The Godfather and its sequel will undoubtedly be in the first sentence of his obituary. But he's also legendary for the Conversation, Apocalypse Now in 1979, basically winning the 70s as a filmmaker despite strong competition from the likes of Spielberg and William Friedkin, and also famous for how much the rest of his career never lived up to that incredible peak. A really stunningly talented director, often over-ambitious, but when his over-ambition all clicked, he gave us some amazing films. Coppola co-wrote the screenplay for this film with Mario Puzo, adapting from Puzo's hugely successful novel of the same name. Puzo again is responsible for a variety of books, but The Godfather is by far his most famous work and very much the first thing that was mentioned in his obituaries when he sadly passed in 1999. The cast is equally legendary. Marlon Brando in the title role, Al Pacino, James Caan, John Cazale, Robert Duvall as his sons, also Diane Keaton, Talia Shire. These are all actors who kind of made their name being in this film. You also get the likes of Sterling Hayden, a huge array of actors, including some Italian actors that Coppola got into the film as well. And many other actors referred to in perpetuity as, look, it's Thingamy-Bob from Godfather. The pinnacle of so many people's careers. Cinematography is by Gordon Willis, an absolute legend of 70s cinema and the go-to director of photography for a good few years there of Coppola, Alan J. Pakula, Woody Allen. Films of his include both Godfather films, Pakula's paranoid trilogy Clute, The Parallax View and All the President's Men, and Allen's film Annie Hall and Manhattan, which were both highly praised for their cinematography. Staggeringly, even though he is synonymous with great film work, never won an Oscar as a director of photography. The sound is by the usual substantial team, of which the main names nominated for awards were Bud Grensbach, Christopher Newman and Richard Portman. The utterly iconic score was by Nino Rota, and you're probably humming it right now in your head. It's absolutely critical to the mood of the film and the Italian feel that Coppola was going for, as well as a counterpoint between the luxurious and seemingly classy trappings of the Corleone family and their violent criminal empire. Coppola's father, Carmine, contributed some additional music but wasn't credited for the score, although the pair of them are credited together for the sequel. In terms of awards and nominations, some of the films that I've done for this, you get through this in like about 30 seconds, not much awards attention at the time. This one, there was lots, as you'd imagine. Let's do the less well-known awards first, because there's more to talk about when we get to the Oscars. Lots of wins and nominations for the film at the BAFTAs, Directors Guild of America, Writers Guild of America, the David di Donatello Awards in Italy, Golden Globes, and the various critics' societies. Lots and lots and lots of awards, nominations, and wins. Saving the Oscars to last, so I can sort of talk about some of the stories. The Godfather was nominated for 11 Oscars initially, but then Nino Rota's nomination for the score was withdrawn because they found that some of his music was used in an older film in 1958. The Oscars do this a lot. They always do it to Johnny Greenwood. They don't like Johnny Greenwood for some reason. And they always come across as really picky when they say stuff like that because they reuse the theme or a piece of music from elsewhere. This year, it's particularly baffling that they did this because the actual winner of Best Score for 1972 was Limelight, a film that was actually released in 1952 and got a re-release this year and was deemed eligible because it hadn't been shown in the city of Los Angeles before. I mean, I don't even know what the fuck that is supposed to be about, especially when you consider that Nino Rota was so ill-treated, but never mind. Of the 10 nominations that sort of lasted as far as the ceremony itself, they only won 3. But it doesn't feel like a snub because they were big ones. Best Picture, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Actor for Brando, who declined his award and sent a woman called Sachin Littlefeather to the ceremony to explain that he was doing so in protest at America's treatment of Native Americans. Millions of stories around this, the furore. Apparently John Wayne had to be sort of physically restrained in the wings because he didn't like that they were doing this. Legendary, for the number of people that were nominated in acting categories and everything else. The other categories that you'd expect a film like this to win, production design, costumes, and all the various technical awards, were dominated by Cabaret, which won 8 awards from its 10 nominations. And Hollywood and the Oscars love a musical, and Cabaret really did have a massive year. So it kind of performed as expected, and it was deemed the best film of the year. Generally speaking, I think it did well overall, but perhaps didn't entirely get to do at the biggest ceremonies, and the cinematography wasn't even nominated. So you look 2 years later for The Godfather Part 2, and there were some wrongs righted then, I would say. Quick summary of what the film is about. I peek behind the curtain. I make notes to help me say what I'm going to say on this on each episode, but I can do this by heart. I've read the book, seen the film 100 times, got the T-shirt, etc. At the start of the film, it's just after the end of World War II. Don Corleone, played by Marlon Brando, is the father, patriarch, leader of the crime family, the Corleones, one of the 5 powerful crime families of the mafia in and around New York City. He is all-powerful. He also has a strong family and is regarded as the godfather to many people. He has a sense of community, a sense of the old days. His sons each play a different role in his business. His stepson, played by Robert Duvall, is the lawyer. He's not technically a Corleone. He was found on the street. He's the smart one. James Caan is the wild son who always wants to fight. John Cazale, the brilliant John Cazale, plays the older but weaker brother Fredo, who doesn't really have the heart to kind of wants to be part of the business but doesn't really got the strength for it. And Al Pacino plays Michael, who went to war against his family's wishes, come back as a veteran decorated Marine and wants nothing to do with the family business, which lasts until there was an assassination attempt on Vito Corleone, Brando's character, because there's a power struggle among the families. One of the other 5 families has got it in for him. There are, moves to try and, gain the political power that the Corleones have, move into drugs rather than just the gambling and prostitution that they specialise in. There's a war, everything goes to hell, and Michael gets involved. He assassinates the police chief and the mafioso responsible for the assassination attempt on his father. Vito survives, but is then heartbroken that Michael's had to leave and go into exile in Sicily while it all blows over. And when he comes back, Michael becomes a key part of the family and becomes even more ruthless than his father. A brilliantly timed 3-hour epic with a Shakespearean arc about, on the one hand, about a father who's trying to pass on his family business to his sons, but that family business is crime. It's also about a young Henry IV type figure who doesn't want that life, but then finds that that is all he's really ever been built and born for. And it's a brilliant depiction of the era, of the Italian atmosphere of Sicily when Michael goes there, and this incredible juxtaposition of seemingly kind of pleasant, family-oriented, traditional Italian people, but as soon as they get into the boardroom, they're ordering people's deaths, and there are some shockingly and stunningly judged kind of action scenes, assassinations, people being killed, which just show you the kind of terrifying world that they live in. It's The Godfather. It's amazing. What can I tell you? My background with the film is that I can't even remember not knowing about The Godfather. You know, when I was starting to get into films as a kid and finding out about the classics, The Godfather was being mentioned all the time. All the great actors, all the great directors were one way or another sort of connected to this film. You know, Coppola, Brando, Pacino, it epitomised the great new filming and auteurs of the 70s. Everywhere I looked, The Godfather was being mentioned. But it was rated 18 back then. That's more than just an R rating in America. That's literally you're not allowed to see it unless you're 18 years old. So for a while I didn't get to see it. I think the first time I actually got to watch this film was sometime in the 1980s, and not actually the way the films were originally shown. It was that TV miniseries edited version that was broadcast that showed the events of The Godfather and Godfather Part 2 in order, which is weird because you get Vito as a child, and then eventually you get De Niro as young Vito Corleone, and you don't even get Pacino, Brando, and James Caan until kind of halfway through, and Connie's wedding, you know, and then it also means you miss all the great touches from Godfather 2 and the flashbacks really juxtapose beautifully with what's going on in Michael's later career. But I was hooked. I loved it. I thought it was brilliantly done and very stylish. But I've never watched it that way again. Eventually got to see the 1972 film the way it was intended. Loved it. Watched the sequel. Loved it even more. There isn't time here to talk about the debate about whether Godfather or Godfather Part 2 is the better film, but I think Godfather Part 2 just edges it. We're not going to get into the discussion about why Godfather Part 3 was such a disappointment, but I watched that as well. But obviously I've rewatched all the Godfather films many times. I've owned them on VHS, had a box set of the three films on VHS, then on DVD. I was lucky enough to see the original Godfather when it was re-released for its 30th anniversary, which blows my mind that that's over 20 years ago now. And then there was a sale on at Rare Waves where I was able to pick up The Godfather on 4K Blu Ray. This was quite recently, so the first time I sat down and properly watched it in 4K was for this episode of the show, which the whole big, exciting unboxing, unveiling of the Godfather in 4K Blu Ray, the best resolution it's ever been in. Although, you know, that was a lovely restored print that I saw at the cinema on the big screen, so that was pretty good as well, I must say. So let's talk about the disc. It is... I'm not going to discuss Part 2, although I did buy that at the same time. That's a discussion for another time. We're just talking about The Godfather on its own. This is the standard UK release of The Godfather. It's a 2-disc edition. Note it's downgraded to a 15 rating now. They don't, you know, you have to be a lot more violent than this to get an 18 these days. It's got the film on 4K, and it's got the film and special features on standard Blu-ray. The special features are pretty solid, you know, making of interviews, some behind-the-scenes stuff. I'm not huge about the special features myself, and if you wanted the really sort of hefty special features with everything and some art and everything else, you're probably looking for some kind of steelbook or box set or collector's edition. This is really about the film. This is a solid standard version. This was released in 2022, so reading about it up online, it seems to suggest before I started watching it, this was a new and very careful restoration. What it told me was that it used the 4K master from an original film copy used for previous HD Blu-ray releases, but that was only as a reference source. They then went back and found thousands of feet of film and went through each of them to find the best image of every part of the film and painstakingly restored every frame of the film to how it originally looked on fresh celluloid. It claims to have used digital tools, but only to repair or restore the image to show how it was intended to look by Coppola and Willis. So they really have gone above and beyond here to properly restore this film. I don't even know what you call this. You know, I don't know if you call that an intermediate. I don't know if you call that a 4K master. But what they did was extraordinary. They've literally gone through all the canvases of film they can find, found the best image, and scanned that to make this new version of the film on 4K Blu-ray. I say new, it's just pristine is what they claim it's going to be. So when I turned it on, having read all that, I thought, I hope this is as good as they'll say it's going to be. So let's talk about the video. It was shot on film, obviously. It was in 1972. 35mm Eastman colour celluloid with Mitchell BNCR cameras and Bausch & Lomb Super Baltar lenses. Those lenses and that camera are a new one on me, but I'm not the expert. The original aspect ratio of 1.85 is preserved here. My memory of this film is of very rich, dark colours, rooms with a lot of dark wood in it, and a very smooth recreation of the 40s and 50s era. So it's not quite that sort of pale white. There's almost like a soft glow around everything. It doesn't have that sharp and brash modern look that you get, for example, of a film that's been shot on like super high definition digital today. How does it look? Gorgeous. I mean, the film was shot with really top quality resources by a great visual stylist, and a huge amount of trouble was gone to make every single film of the frame of the film look like 1946, 1949, 50. Sicily looks beautiful. New York, the environs around New York all look incredible. Obviously, not all of it happens in like glamorous and beautiful locations. There are dirty side streets and places that, you know, criminals go to dispose of bodies and that sort of thing. But it's all just in perfect, vivid colour. It looks absolutely gorgeous. It looks, if I can remember, exactly like it looked on a fresh 35mm print when I watched it on film projected in 2002. The video is so good and gives you so much detail. You know, that you can reel off the scenes. Everyone knows the scenes from this film. You know, the assassination scene of his father when he goes to the hospital to. Michael goes to the hospital to try and see how his father is. We shoots the policeman. He goes to Sicily. That you see all of that and you see it in all its glory. But you also see Luca Brasi walking into that bar, and the detail, the railings, the bar, the windows, everything is just beautifully fresh and well done. The video is absolutely excellent here. I couldn't possibly complain. It's got to be, you know, satisfying for Coppola to see it like this. And obviously Coppola's very visually strong. His 4K of Apocalypse Now is absolutely incredible as well. We were talking about that one day soon. So you'd expect it to look good. You'd expect it to have lots of detail from the original film, that if someone goes to this much trouble to bring out the video, that you'd get a good look. But it's absolutely gorgeous. The clothes that they wear, you know, expressions on faces, skin tones, people's eyebrows. It's never looked this good. Absolutely incredible. Really can't say enough. As for the sound, so the original sound was on mono, on a 35mm optical film print. That was pretty common back then. The last Blu Ray release, as I understand it, had a very nice Dolby True HD 5.1 sound mix, which was on here. They've also done a Dolby Digital 5.1 sound mix here, and they've got a new 2.0 stereo digital, which I didn't look at. I used the Dolby Digital 5.1, that was really good. I had a quick listen to the True HD 5.1 from the Blu Ray release, also very good. This is a bit reductive, but it tends to be the case that unless someone comes in and does like a real deep dive on the sound, if they did a good job on the Blu Ray, reproducing that here will be enough, and it is really good. There are great sounds. That some of the sounds that will test your cinema system the most are sort of the quiet, silent, that brief moment of peace before all hell breaks loose and someone gets shot or a car explodes. Those sounds are really well represented here. The speakers never kind of overload because the sound is really lovely and balanced. There's lots of quite striking moments with the score, because what you realise when you're paying attention to the sound is that there'll be a moment and something happens, somebody gets shot or there's a revelation, and then the score really kind of comes out very loudly as a like punctuation to what's happening on screen. And so while it's not, again, quite Apocalypse Now, where you've got to have, you know, dialogue over the radio while Wagner and is playing on speakers and helicopters coming into the left and right overhead, it still requires a good sound mix to get everything that the film originally did, and it's really good. Again, it was really good quality to begin with, and it's been reproduced very nicely here. So yeah, lovely sound. The score is gorgeous. And everything you'd expect to see is and hear is really nicely presented. So great video, great sound. Someone has gone to a lot of trouble to make this a really good 4K version of this, because I think there'd been an outcry if they'd half-assed this, and they've not. They have really done a full-on job. So overall, what do I think of this film? Well, this film is legendary for a reason, and I know that can be like intimidating. My eldest son is just coming out of his 20s, and he's grown up with people just saying Godfather, Godfather, God. And how can a film live up to this thing that's been described as a religious experience? Same thing with something like 2001. How does a film live up to its reputation? And the main thing is just watch it, because it's a really good story. You know, the whole books have been written about the making of this film, how the studio was like trying to get Coppola to cast a star name like Robert Redford or Ryan O'Neal to play Michael, even though that would have been completely wrong for it. You had to fight for Pacino. You had to fight for all of these actors. You had to fight for the level of detail. It's, this was the moment that the auteurs said, we've got this, hang back. All the stories about Robert Evans and his wild lifestyle and everything that came together to make this film. There's a mini series about the making of this film where Robert Evans is the main character. So many stories. The mafia were annoyed about the film, but then tried to use their contacts to get people that were connected to them in the film and were fascinated by it. It's just endless stories. Is there anything more to be said? Perhaps only this. Like a lot of classic films, for example, Casablanca, like I said, the best thing you can do is just watch it, because it can often be reduced to the famous moments and memes. Brando's voice, that kind of accent and the gravelly voice that he puts on, the music, quotes like "I'll make him an offer he can't refuse, it's not personal, it's just business," the shootout on the New Jersey Turnpike, the horse's head in the bed. It's more than that. It's a story about people and characters and the state of America in the middle of the 20th century. And it's worth rewatching the film and trying to forget all of the stories and the memes and the kind of moments, the things that will go into the collage or the montages of films, and just focus on this story. The character arc, especially of Michael, who becomes the Godfather in the end. At the end of this film, Brando isn't the Godfather, Pacino is. And Pacino's journey from young ex-Marine who wants a different path to the cold and ruthless head of the criminal world he initially rejected is such a powerful and devastating story. The kind of broken love story between him and Diane Keaton's character is really, really important, because Diane Keaton is the normal person looking at this from outside and thinking this is a terrifying and mad world. It also tells you about how people discuss crime as if it's just a business meeting, and the way violence, corruption and the mafia have spread through every level of America. All of that is chilling and beautifully done. And of course, it's an absolute work of art, the way Coppola has made the film look and sound so beautiful. But the main thing is, watch it. If you do buy this, you'll put it on and you'll click to your favourite scenes to go, oh, how does this look? Oh, look at the detail, look at the wedding, look at all of that stuff. Sure. But for this, I ended up just watching the film. Put it on, sit down, don't take a single note. Just watch the movie and be captivated by it, because it's a terrific film in its own right. But yes, this is the best way you can watch it, unless someone brings the 50th anniversary or whatever, print to a cinema near you so you can watch it on the big screen. This 4K on a good home cinema system is the best way to watch and listen to it. It's really, really good. So should you add this film to your collection? Well, my sarcastic answer is duh. Of course you should. There's only a handful of films maybe as good or better than this in the history of making films, and it is a really visually impressive film. So yeah, I think you should. Maybe it's not for everyone. Not everyone likes gangster films. Maybe the 70s isn't your era. I don't know. There's not a lot of female characters here to get your teeth into. So maybe if you're not a film bro like me, who was turning 20 in the 1990s when the 70s were this kind of beloved decade, maybe I'm imagining how much this film matters. This film was kind of joked about a bit in Barbie. There was a joke that says, oh, if you want to get a guy to, distract him for 3 hours, tell him you've never seen The Godfather and he'll jump all over it. Forget all that. This is a really good film. Anyone who hasn't seen it I think should give it a watch, because I think it tells a lot of interesting stuff about American history, tells you a lot of stuff about film history, and it's a really good film. It's got some great acting, performances, great music, great production. Watch it as a film and enjoy it. I think most people who want a physical media collection will want to add this, and it's worth it. If you want to add Godfather to your collection, this is the version you should own, and I think it's a good addition to anyone's shelf, if I'm honest. So that's The Godfather. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you got something out of it. I certainly enjoyed talking to you about it. There are more episodes on the channel to watch up there already. Please have a look at those. There are more to come, so please subscribe, and I hope you watch those and enjoy those as well. Once again, if you enjoyed the show, please do check out Double Reel, the podcast, and ways to find that podcast and our socials will be on the screen in a moment. In any event, I hope to see you next time for more physical media chat right here on Maximum Disc. The Maximum Disc YouTube channel is brought to you by Double Reel, the monthly magazine podcast for the discerning film nerd. If you like our celebration of physical media, please check out the podcast for more chat about the films we love and hate.